So every P to M that has been submitted, I have looked at up until about 10 minutes ago, right? So like, unless you were working during your previous class on math stuff, I'm caught up. So if your grade for a mastery in math is still progressing, you probably made a mistake. You probably need to go back and look at my feedback that I left you on the Schoology assignment. You can email me if you want. You can like do another submission and just edit that one question that you got wrong. If I still have the paper copy of your test, if you need to reference that, please come get it back from me. I still have like 8 of these. Like Samaji, I have yours right here. I'll try to get it back to you just right now here during class in a minute. After I'll walk around the room. I'll give you guys. But if I forget anybody, New Khan Academy is due the 9th. Actually, you guys, thank you very much. Most of you had the February 3rd stuff done. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 of us that need to go take care of that stuff still. But most of us have the 3rd done. I'll probably upload those grades like tomorrow morning. So here's like the reasoning behind my thinking. And I don't care if you appreciate this or not. I just want you to understand like what I'm thinking. Your parents get an email tonight on Thursday with the grade report. You guys have only been at school 1 day this week today, right? That kind of sucks. And next week, Blue is still going to like pick up the lead. So I realized it's not really fair to you, even though you had time to email me and ask me questions. I wanted you to have today's AO and extensions to come work with me if necessary. So I did not upload the February 3rd grades yet, but I'm going to very soon because some of you need that like, oh crap, oh yeah, and then you get it done. So please don't operate on the oh yeah, oh crap. Please just try to like think about due dates and get stuff done ahead of time. But if you're not done with that, it will of course be in your past section. Head your notes, simplifying expressions, and we are ready to dive in. Now, a lot of us did seem like we were stuck at low scores on the assignment that was called Combining Like Terms with Negative Coefficients and Distribution. So that's a lot of what we're doing today. So guys, if you don't have a header on your paper, please do it right now. I'm going to tell you we're going to do 2 problems together, and then I'm going to take a lap of the classroom to pass out papers and look at your notes. So, like, take the notes I ask you to take, so when I walk around, I don't have to say, hey, what's going on here? Preach? Simplifying expressions. It was right here. It's partly covered with my little thing. But I will show you my notes here in a second. These are going to be the 2 problems that we start to warm up with. I moved them up here earlier, but all this said was like, let's warm up with review from last time. So go ahead and try these. The trap doors here come from the negatives, which some of you might say, well, I don't know. What I was going to try to say is something relating subtraction and negatives. But remember, subtraction does not exist. Subtraction is not actually real. Now, if you read the entire first start slide, you'll notice I told you to fold your paper in hot dog style. The reason is I would like your notes to start to kind of be a bit more structured. Some of you are like, do a problem here, do a problem there, do a problem here. Do it like you're jumping all over the place. We're working left to right, top to bottom. Right? So unless you already have a nice structure for your notes, then keep doing that. If you already have a method that you really like, keep doing that. But if you don't, I would advise start doing a left column and a right column. It'll make your life easier. So for our left column, we'll write negative k plus 2 parentheses minus 2k minus 5. What's the first thing we draw? Notice I didn't say do, I said draw. What's the first thing we draw? Oh, come on, guys. What? The arrows! Everybody should be saying that at the same time, guys. What we talked about is not optional. The arrows. Now, I'm going to write out all of the work. And if you're one of the people getting a 25% or a 50% or any low scores on con, you should write out every single step as well. What this tells us to do is multiply 2 times negative 2k. So I wrote it out, 2 times negative 2k. And it tells us to multiply 2 times the negative 5. So I wrote it out, 2 times the negative 5. Notice I always put my negatives in parentheses. It is cleaner that way. So then we do the multiplications, and some of you skip what I wrote in red, and you jump right down to the answers of multiplication. That's okay until you make a mistake. Now I know my k's look kind of weird, but we have negative k, negative 4k, so since they are both k values, we know they are, what do we call two things that we can put together? Yeah, like terms. So grab your highlighter and highlight your like terms that we can put these together. Now, the two things I'm going to ask you today a lot. Can we combine our constants or our variables or both? Here we can combine are these constants or variables? Variables. These are variable terms, right? They use letters. So here we can combine our variable terms. Then, do they get along or do they fight? So are they both bad guys, both good guys, or do they disagree? Well, these are both bad guys. So they get along and give us a negative 5k. And the negative 10, no one to play with. All alone. No like term for the negative 10. Questions on how we did this first review problem here? Otherwise, you're going to do that second one on your own. Yeah. Necessary to do the what? This second line. Not absolutely necessary, but if you make any mistakes getting these two answers, I would write out the math that got us there. So it's not necessary, but it's a good idea while you're learning. That's like our training wheels necessary on a bike. Not once you know what you're doing, but when you're first starting, the training wheels are necessary. When I write out the next problem, guys, I would write it not as a -3. Because then you're going to accidentally think that 3 is positive. It's not. It's negative. Today's the 4th. These were yesterday's notes. We need to move fast today because green group needs to go quickly. So I don't want my hand to be in the way of the camera. I want you guys to be able to write as quickly as you can. I only drew my arrows on bottom because somebody asked me, do I have to draw my arrows on top? And I said, no, but you got to put them somewhere. So you can put them on bottom if you prefer that. Great question from Megan. Do we have to write out the second step? No, but I do just to know what I'm doing. So what am I doing from those red arrows up there? Well, I'm multiplying. Multiplying what? Multiplying -3 times both of these other numbers. I'm going to give you a minute on your own to try to get to the final answer while I do exactly what I said I was going to do. Once you've done your multiplication, what can combine? Constants or variables? Or both. What do we have that can combine? Constants or variables? Guys, I'm asking you, which do we have two of? We have two variables, right? Ignore this line across here. I drew my line too soon. I got excited. So do my variables, which should be highlighted because they are our like terms, do they get along or fight each other? They fight. We have a bad guy and a good guy. Be careful. This should be positive 9y. Double check your math, guys. A -3 times a -3y becomes positive 9y. A positive 3, or a -3 times -3y, a negative times a negative becomes a positive. Just so you guys know, blue people are kind of mad at you guys. Blue people showed up at school Monday morning. Yeah, blue people showed up at school Monday morning, and they were like, why didn't we have a snow day? It's bad out. And I was like, it's kind of bad. And I just told them all that they were wimps and they should get over it. And then we had a snow day the next day. It was rough. Like, Monday was rough, but so was, like, Tuesday. The Monday, the snow stopped soon enough that they got a decent cleanup. For Tuesday morning, it just snowed all night Monday night, but it didn't start till late Monday night. Like, I was up with my dogs. At, like, 10 o'clock at night, it, like, wasn't snowing. And then I woke up at, like, 1 in the morning to let my dog out, and it was, like, an inch of snow. I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually happening. Like, an inch of fresh snow. You know, like, it was snowing through the night. That's what made the issue for Tuesday morning, is they didn't have any time to clean it up. And I don't know if you guys look at weather. It's really cold now. Like, now it's really cold. The snow is sticking. Things are freezing into ice. Try this on your own. If you still need my notes from the last problem, there they are. But you are trying this on your own. Watch out. Is this a 7? Well, kind of. It's a -7, right? I think you guys think I'm crazy when I ask you, is this a 7? And you're like, yeah. Yes, it has, yeah. No, but it's not 7. It's -7. It's not 7, guys. It's -7. It's not -7. Now, unless you wait to apply the minus, but then still apply it to everything. But guys, trust me, that's a harder process to keep track of. You should have 2 sets of arrows. In total, making 4 arrows. You should have 2 sets of arrows, making 4 arrows total. If you write out the second step, that is not totally necessary, and this is where I'm going to pause and actually flip my sand timer to give you guys some time with me not talking. Grady, you already done? Don't baby bird this. Don't wait for somebody to put the food in your mouth. Try to eat on your own. We should get -2n from the first arrow, -6 from the second arrow, -35 from our third arrow, and -14n from our last arrow. I see some faces. Stick up a hand and ask a question if you don't understand how I got a number that I got. Notice that I shifted into like low gear. I want to slow down to make sure that you guys get ahead of me. Megan? Yes, so the -7 times the 5, this multiplication right up here, that's how we got the -35. Yep, good question. Other questions about what I got up here? Then, as the highlighting already indicates, we have like terms of both types. All right, we got like terms of variables and like terms of constants. For the variables, do we get along or do we fight? Get along. They're both bad guys. They're out pulling some shenanigans. -16. Same with the constants. Both bad guys, they get along, pulling some shenanigans. Now, again, I'm going to leave my work for that one, but ask that you start trying these. Now, before we make this switch, I have to tell you, this is a different homework set. This is a different practice skill. So does anyone have any questions from those like 3 or 4 problems that we have just solved? Or anything from a previous day's notes about negative numbers distributing, negative times a negative making a positive, or a negative times a positive staying negative, right? If we only have one negative, it stays negative. So try these 2 problems now where we deal with fractions and decimals. This one is from the February 9th due date section. This one's called rational coefficients. Rational coefficients means not whole numbers. Right? Rational means not whole numbers. Now, whole numbers are still rational, but when somebody says, oh, that's a rational number, they normally mean, oh, it's a decimal or a fraction. So, both of these do not involve distribution. Right? At first, we're just looking at the combining like terms. So you should grab your highlighter and ask yourself, what like terms do we have here? Well, the variables. Right? And instead of saying minus, they went ahead and put the negative in parentheses, so good on them. Finally doing the right thing. What do you get when you combine those variable values? Go, you can shout it out, man. Yeah, negative 6/7 because they get along. Now, negative 6/7 p. I know sometimes we don't say the variable because we just kind of assume that everyone knows what we're talking about. But be careful letting yourself get in that habit of not saying the variable. The constant has no friend. No like terms. No other numbers like him. No one understands him. Not yet. He needs to go to college. He'll find his people there. You've never heard that? Like if you don't get along with anyone in middle school or high school, you just need to get to college. I think a lot of you will understand when you get to college. That's where you can find your people. Actually, high school. In Worthington, the high schools are big enough. There's a pretty diverse crowd in high school. In Coshocton, it was like if you played football, you hung out with the football people. If you were in marching band, you know what I mean? Like cliques. Try that next one on your own. What is there to combine? Variables or constants in the decimal one? What can be combined? Shout it out. The variables, right? Because there are 2 b values. So try this b problem on your own. If you have a b problem, you got to call a specialist. They are a protected species. See what I did there? Now here's a trick and why I am doing this problem. Notice that they both have tenths as their decimal place, right? They both have 2 decimal places. Here's a nice little trick to make your math easier. Act like this is 32 and 13. If we bump both decimals over, we can act like they're whole numbers. And we can treat it like negative 32 versus positive 13, which would give us negative 19, but it would actually be 1.9 because the 1 decimal place. Your brain may be better than mine. You may not need to do that, but that helps my brain a lot because I don't like decimals. Decimals are just kind of difficult. All right, here's where we're going to take a hard pause. Does anyone have questions to this point? Yeah. So we look at the 1.3b. And the negative 3.2, sorry, that's a B. I know my B's really sloppy right there. It looked like a 6, and I tried to fix it. So the bad guy wins, right? The 3.2 is further away from 0. So then we ask, how much does the 3.2 win by? And he is bigger by 1.9. So if you wanted to write this math out, it would have been how much did 3.2 beat 1.3 by? Which is why I said if we do 32 and 13, it's a little bit easier because we borrow and get that 19. Or over here, we would just get 1.9. But it's comparing. It's when they fight, right? So, Megan, I guess what I should have said was we get it from the fights of anytime we fight, we take the stronger one minus the weaker one. Right? We take the sign of the stronger one, but then we just do subtraction. We always do strong, take away weak. And again, the constant, nobody to hang out with. Any other questions? Okay. So you can try all 3 of these. This one on top is obviously the next one we're doing. But then if you get done with that, you can try these next 2. We have these 3, and then one more problem, and that's it for today. If we get done early, I would love it if we have some Khan Academy time. I know I'm going quickly, so slow me down if we need to. But today was just really kind of like a drill kind of day of just practice what we're doing and figure out those mistakes. Because I went and I looked at Khan Academy, and it looked like there's a lot of negative trap doors, like people just goofing up signs. What do you need before you can add or subtract fractions? Shout it out. Yeah, common denominators. So do I need to find a common denominator between 8 and 10 and 5? No, because they're not all like terms. So be careful. First thing you should do after you write this down is look for like terms. What actually needs to go together and what doesn't matter. If we highlight our like terms, 7/8 m and the negative 2m, those are going to combine. And the 9/10 and the negative 3/5, those are going to combine. But I don't need to find a common denominator for everything. That is not actually necessary. So there's my cue in on what to watch out for there. Go ahead. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to try to solve all 3 of these, and then we'll check them all together. If you get totally stuck, move on to the next one. Like Dr. Smith would always say, don't do nothing. So do something. Draw the arrows, highlight something, write out an idea of what you think is going to happen. Don't do nothing. So right now I would normally walk around and if you had a question, I would crouch down right next to you. Obviously, thanks to COVID, that doesn't really happen right now. So I would encourage you to be bold. If there's something here you don't know what to do with it, ask. I want to show you, but I want to give you a moment to try it on your own. But if you're stumped, ask right now. This is your one chance this week to interact with me. I mean, you can come back at extensions, obviously, but... By the way, if you missed it on the start slide, we have a quiz on Monday over exactly, or Tuesday for you guys. But we have a quiz on next week over exactly this stuff. Like, it'll probably be 3 questions. One about distribution, one about combining like terms, and just one like with both of them, probably. If we start looking at this first problem, and I will give you guys more time for the second and third problems over there, we realize that my variables need a denominator of 8, right? To be it now, unless you're smarter than me and you can just do this without making the 2 into a fraction. But I need to make the negative 2 into a fraction, so I multiply by 8 on top and bottom. That gives me negative 16 over 8. Now these have common denominators. We're set. Same thing with the constants, but what you probably can't read in my scribbles is I'm multiplying by 2, right? 2 over 2, right? This is multiplication by 2 on top and bottom. So I have a 9/10 constant and a negative 6/10 constant. We want to put the variables together. We want to put the constants together. So ask yourselves, do they fight or do they get along? Variables, do they get along or fight? They fight. Guys, I don't know if we're just answering without thinking or you're just taking like a 50-50 shot and you're like, I'll just say one of the things he says. Look at them. One is positive. One is negative. They disagree with each other. Good guy, bad guy. So who wins? Unfortunately, the bad guy. But here's a trick. And I don't like the word trick, or I don't like how we've stigmatized the word trick. You can, because you have the common denominator and the common variable, you could go ahead and write a denominator of 8 and a variable of m. And then you could figure out, okay, 7 and negative 16, who wins? Who's stronger, 7 or negative 16? Negative 16, so the bad guy wins by 9. So our variable is negative 9/8 m. Don't forget the actual variable. And our constant, again, they fight. Excuse me. But the good guys win, and we get 3/10. Yeah. Like, so you can see up. Like that. Because that's the whole problem. Yeah, that's it. That's from the beginning to the end. Try these if you haven't. If you've already started them, great. These are the same problems from the last slide. Just this slide has them moved up. So try these 2 problems if you haven't yet. Hey, on the second problem, what number gets multiplied into the parentheses? Negative 3. Not 3. Negative 3 gets distributed in. Oh. Brady, I have your notes, too. I'll bring these back to you in a second. I thought about it, but I haven't seen you since last week. By the way, in case anyone's real curious, I do have a jug of water back here that I refill my water bottle with, because those water bottle fillers are slower than molasses. Some of you don't know what molasses is. Molasses is tree sap that turns into syrup. My binder clip up. You won't get that. Thank you very much, sir. Although my binder clip's just going over into the binder clips. Huh? No, you put your name on your paper. I already changed your grade. Everything. You just left that sitting on my desk. I literally told you, hey, you can take these, and you walked away. Like, I just think your brain had moved on to something else. Like, there were other kids in here, and there was stuff happening, so I don't know if you knew I was talking to you. When the negative 1/2 distributes in, again, the first thing you should draw is arrows. Each arrow tells us a multiplication that's happening. So if we write out the multiplications, sorry, this handwriting got a tiny bit sloppy. My 2's look like Z's here. So like this is a 2. Sorry, this is negative 1/2. You should get, and guys, if you're sitting here not trying this on your own, you're only hurting yourself. This is your opportunity to take a chance. If you trip, I'm here to catch you. But at home, it is not so safe. You should get positive 3/2 y, or you could write 1.5 y, I guess, if you want to use decimals, plus negative 5. Because half of 10 is 5, and the negative up here makes it opposite. If you didn't do this one yet, realize that the negative 3 is what's distributing, and please go ahead and try to finish that one. I'll pop back over here in case anyone still needs this. And our, well, we got one more problem. Be careful with your signs. The opposite of negative, because that's after subtraction, it's actually negative. The opposite of a negative is actually positive. So 7/7, oh yeah, 7/7 is 1. A number over itself is 1. Questions? Yeah.
So I forgot the answers. Negative 9/7 and plus 5/7.
Plus how many sevenths?
5/7.
You accidentally treated your 1/7 as a negative, I think. That's the only way I can think of you getting 5/7, unless you got negative 5/7. And then what happened is you accidentally treated this like a negative. If your answer got negative 5/7. So our coefficient on the n is negative 9/7, because we do negative times positive. However, our constant here becomes positive 7/7. Does that make sense now? Can you find your mistake? Does that make sense when you compare it to your paper? Like, do you see what you did now? Okay. Other questions? Thank you very much. Yeah. Always. Yeah, I mean, unless I tell you no calculator, but you pretty much can always use a calculator. But a calculator won't help you like combining like terms. It'll help you with the math, but knowing that the n cannot combine with the 6/7 like that, you just have to know. So yes, you can use a calculator, but a lot of times I write problems that your brain is the thing that needs to be on, not the calculator. All right, the last problem that we're doing today is just an example of, if I tell you, get 3 bags of something, something, and something, something, and something, something, versus if I tell you, get a bag of something, 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 and something, something, actually get 3 of those. Does it change what happens? No. So if you realize after the fact that you want to multiply something like we did here, like, oh yeah, here's my group, and oh wait, I need to multiply that. That multiplication is exactly the same as any other distribution we've been doing. So even though the multiplication comes after the binomial, we would still draw arrows to connect over to each piece here. Or if your brain is like, wait, I'm going right to left, the arrows go this way. If your brain does not like that, that's okay. Turn the whole problem around. Turn it into negative 2.5 times the binomial they gave you. The thing to be careful of here, don't turn around your binomial. Keep your 3 minus y8, keep it as 3 minus y8. Oh my gosh. 3 minus 8y, keep that as 3 minus 8y, and just move the multiplication 2 in front of it. So either way, what we're multiplying is 3 times negative 2.5, because order doesn't matter. It's the same as if I do negative 2.5 times 3, right? These, what I have written in blue and written in pink, are the same. Negative 8y times negative 2.5 is the same as if I do negative 2.5 times negative 8y. Order of multiplication doesn't matter. 2 times 3 is 3 times 2. Order can be switched. This is what we call the commutative property, because commute means to move. So what we get there, again, you could totally use your calculator if you wanted. Negative 7.5 plus 20y. I would like you to use the remaining 7 minutes. I know it's not a lot of time, but you can still get to like an assignment. What I really want you to do is, if you're stuck, email me. So everyone, once you wrap up your notes, pull out your Chromebook. If you are stuck on a problem, we may have just solved it. One of the problems that you've been stuck on, because I pulled these from that assignment that it seems like a lot of people are struggling on. But I want you to go check your con work. And if you are stuck, I would like you to take a screenshot and email me so that we can plan to meet at Extensions. If you need math help today at Extensions, is your time to do that. Do not spend Extensions working on like homework that is due next week if you need to come get help from a teacher, right? You can do your homework at home. Get help from a teacher at school. Wait, that's why they call homework home?